Good morning, good morning, good morning. So, I am doing a quick video that I hope to be able to use on a live. I just wanted to give people a view of what it's looking like in the morning, before I do my hair, before I do my makeup, before I put on the pretty clothes. So, I'm an early riser. I wake up early even on my days off. So, I do have a full time job that I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm up at 5 a.m. I have to punch that clock for 7 a.m. And I think my body's just programmed to, in order for me to get up at 5, I give myself a time at night in the evening of when I'm going to go to bed. So that I can get the sleep that I need to wake up and refreshed in the morning. So I also, because of my depression, take depression meds. I take Celexa. It's 20 milligram. It's nothing hardcore or major. It just gets me my symptoms of depression include anxiety and panic attacks. I get like racing thoughts. My heart starts racing. I'll start sweating. I can't breathe. So the Celexa helps me with all that. Like, it will take me from here to here, and then the rest is all God. I do not play with my meds. I take them daily. I take them regularly as prescribed. Um, and the thing about mental health ailment, specifically with depression, you know, for someone who's suffering with depression, like, first of all, you're dealing with all of the symptoms that come with depression. Like I said, the racing heartbeat, the palpitations, the shortness of breath, you can't breathe. Um, I don't know about anybody else, but when I can't breathe, I start getting lightheaded. I feel a little dizzy, like I want to pass out, sweating, um, racing thoughts. So yeah, the Celexa helps me with all that. But when you have a mental ailment and you take uh, mental health medications, you also have to deal with the side effects of taking that medication. So, it's a lot going on for a person who suffers a mental ailment, trying to manage the symptoms of that mental ailment, and then like trying to manage the side effects of, whatever mental health medication you have to take. Mine's works as like not really a tranquilizer. Like I said, it's not a heavy drug. It works more or less like a sedative. Like it helps to calm me. The only problem with that is sometimes it will calm me too much, and I feel like I need to sleep. So, because of my body just being accustomed to going to bed early so that I can get up at 5 a.m. And then, taking my meds, I can get tired like early evening, probably like 8, 9 o'clock, and I need to go to sleep. So with all that being said, it is my day off. But I did manage to wake up at 6:30 in the morning. So for me, that's sleeping in. I probably was up earlier than that, but I didn't really get up and move until like 6:30. So I just wanted to do a live and show you guys what it's like for me in the morning before the hair is done, the makeup, the clothes. I wake up, I have my cup of coffee, I sit, I let my brain do what it needs to do. Like I said, with the racing thoughts, like I have to sit and give my brain time to catch up and like process all the thoughts that are going on inside and wait for it to like start to slow down. Now, with those racing thoughts, like some of the thoughts could be good thoughts, some of the thoughts could be not so good. But it's going so fast that I need time to, like, you know, get inside and pull out some of the good information because, I have a creative side and I have to allow my brain to like get through everything, all the information that's going on, and get to that creative side and stop pulling stuff out. So, anyway, this video is because, like I said, I recently wrote a book called God's Gift to You. It is about my childhood growing up. I was born in 69, so we're talking like the 70s, the early 80s. The community that I lived in at that time was infested with drug dealers and people using and abusing drugs, including my parents. So, my earliest memories of my life as a child was like visions of yelling, screaming, violence, like all the stuff that comes with people who abuse drugs. So there's like a lot of learned behaviors that I have, and I had to like, first of all, identify what those learned behaviors are. Um, Acknowledge that, that I may be portraying these behaviors from things that I've learned. Um, and, accepting that I have these, learned behaviors, um, identifying them, getting help for them. Like, it's not just about psychiatrists and meds. Like, I always loved to read, like, even through all that chaos that I was in the middle of as a young girl. I loved to read. Throughout my life, I read a lot of books, especially in my early adult years. Every week or two, I would go to the local library and check out a new book. And, I would read that entire book like in a week's time. Even though I worked full time, I would be up all night if the book was that interesting. I would be up all night reading that book because it would be so good that I could not put the book down, even though I know I have to get up in the morning and go to work. And I did. I'd go to work tired, but even the adrenaline during my work day of, when I get out of work, I can get back to, reading my book. So that's kind of what got me through my work day when I went to work tired. With that being said, I always loved book. I always enjoyed reading books. So, you know, what I do every morning, I get up in the morning, I sit, I have my cup of coffee, I let my brain go through what it needs to go through. I may play some video games on my phone. I love word games, puzzles, like involving words. Like, I don't know, I just have this thing about words. Anyway, so by saying all that, like, that is how I got my creative side and how I, um, you know, got to this place in my life where I decided to write my own book. So part of my morning routine, besides having my morning cup of coffee, I have a spiritual side to me. I'm not all that religious, but I do have a spiritual side of me where I have what I call a higher power, whom I choose to call God. Now, even as a young child, when I was surrounded by all this chaotic events in my life, like I always had this voice in the back of my mind, telling me like things that I was seeing and things that I was experiencing at the time was not normal. I didn't acknowledge that voice. I'm like 8, 9, 10. I didn't grow up in a home where people talked about God or church or Bible. So I really didn't know what that voice in the back of my head was, and I didn't even acknowledge it. It's like sometimes I would just have these thoughts, and you know, that was that. So anyway, throughout my life, I, did learn about religion through outside resources, maybe through friends, families, other avenues. I did learn about, church and religion, and all that is great, but I'm no saint. Um, I'd like to be. I think it's awesome, but I fall short in a lot of areas. I'm still dealing with behaviors from my past. I know that my Father in heaven has mercy on me, forgives me of my sins. That's the religious part of it. However, as far as my higher power goes, like part of believing in God, I do believe in the Holy Bible. I do believe that is God's word to us, and that is His instructions for us as far as how we are to live our lives. Now, again, I'm not talking about religion. This is just my belief, and it works for me. By all means, like, not everybody has the same beliefs as I do, and we are free to choose what we believe in, what we don't believe in. I do not judge, to each his own. So, with that being said, this is what I do in the morning. I have my Holy Bible. I have to pray and I have to meditate because it also helps me with my mental health issues. Um, besides reading books about mental health issues and going through the process, and experiencing the process and symptoms, the diagnosis, things like that, like I still have to have my higher power who also helps me, in my time of need. Um, Another book that I read, let me just, because I'm going to lean over here. I read a lot of Joyce Myers. This one is How to Age Without Getting Old. I'm a woman in my 50s. My body, my mind goes through a lot of changes, um, that I can't control. As the years go on, we may change in our features. Hair starts to get gray, and teeth start to shape differently. All kind of stuff comes with the aging process. But this Joyce Myers book, really is about your spirit. Like I don't feel old, I don't act old, um, I don't look old, not yet anyway. But anyway, so yeah, that's something that I love to read. Um, a friend of mine loaned me this book, The Man God Has for You, because apparently I make bad choices in relationships or who I choose to be involved with. And, with that being said, I'm a woman in my 50s. I've never been married. I've had some failed relationships or situationships that I wasn't too proud of at the time, but it is what it is. I recently decided to like stay out of relationships, not date anyone, um, and just sit with self. And I did that for 2 years. Like there was a lot of healing I needed to do. Um, there was a lot of things I needed to learn about myself. Um, I had to learn to set boundaries. Um, and I had to deal with people that, if you can accept my boundaries, like I'm going to have to just remove myself from your life. Because when you're a single woman, there are single men out there looking and they're like, hey, what about me and you? And I'm like, dude, you really don't want to be involved with me right now. And I do that not only to protect myself, but to protect these men. Like, there's a lot of men out there that don't have information about, dating and choosing mates. And, they also have unhealthy compromises, stories that they have about their dating world. So, it's just a lot. And I just needed to like remove myself from that whole scene and just sit with self and, get in touch with me and grow. Um, anyway, so yeah, God's gift to you. Stephen Labossery, if I'm saying his name right. It's a good read. This is what I do. I love to read. This book, I'm reaching again, sorry, I get from my dad. Open Doors. Um, it is by Rick Warren. It's a daily devotional book. Obviously, my dad thinks I need saving, and I agree with him in some areas and to some extent. So, dad and I share the same faith. We believe in the same higher power, whom we choose to call God. Um, he reads and studies his Bible like several hours a day, every day. And he's always like, challenging me with verses from the Bible and scriptures and quotes. And, we go back and forth. And that's just our little thing that we do. I love it. He loves it. I learn a lot from my dad when it comes to my higher power and scriptures and things like that. So kudos to dad. I'm reaching again. Also, I read, like, this is a pocket Bible devotional for women. I read it on a daily basis. It just, in that moment of the day, if I have a moment between things that I'm doing, it's just, it uplifts the spirit. And sometimes my spirit can be really down and, my spirit needs some uplifting. So with all that being said, like, because I have been a reader my whole life, like I said, I love reading books. I've always loved reading books. I'm reaching again, sorry guys. It led me to finally write my own book. So, and that's the purpose of this video, because I do have a book that I recently had published. It's called God's Gift to You, Book 1, Johnny Belinda Hopkins, that's me. So this book is not about religion. I'm not, talking about religion. I'm not trying to sell religion. I'm not trying to get people to believe in something they don't believe in. Like, whatever you believe in, that's your choice, because we all have the freedom to choose. This book is about me growing up as a young girl, ages 6 to probably 19, 20, but it's just my journey on, what it was like for me as a young girl growing up in an environment, like I said, back in the 70s and early 80s, when there was an outbreak of street drugs in my neighborhood, and, a lot of the young adults were, either selling drugs or using and abusing drugs, and just living unhealthy lifestyles. And unfortunately, when you are in an environment like that, like, you witness a lot of violence. There's so many things that you witness as a young child that you have no idea what you're seeing. You don't know what it is. You can't understand what's going on. You're powerless to it. Like, you're just a child. You live, like, I live in a single parent home with my mom and her 4 children. Her 4 children, there are 3 men involved. So she has 4 children by 3 different men, that, although were popping in and out, they were not living in my mom's home. They didn't offer my mom any support, in any way necessary, including financial. So my mom had a lot on her plate. And unfortunately, it led to, a lot of child abuse, child neglect. My book, God's Gift to You, is my journey through all that. And I got to say, if you're faint at heart, you might want to, use caution if you decide to purchase my book and read it. If you're sensitive to children being abused. And, the purpose in writing that book, like, this is a reality. Like, this goes on, unfortunately, many places in the world. And it has gone on since the beginning of time. Well, I don't know if drugs has always been in the world, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to jump online real quick and do a live. A lot of times in Facebook world, we see people, like, with their hair done and their makeup done and the jewelry, the clothes, what great thing can we do and post online today? And, I wouldn't say that I get jealous. Okay, let me just say that. But I do get bumped into feelings when I see those things online because it's like, well, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong with my life? Like, why can't I have the Marc Jacobs bag or the Michael Kors bag, or drive a fancy Mercedes Benz or BMW or whatever top notch vehicle is out today? Um, so yeah, I start feeling like, maybe I'm not doing something right in my life, but the reality of it is like, I have a full-time job. I work for a company that pays me, they pay me pretty decent. I have no complaints about that, but I mean, it's not like 30, 40, 50 bucks an hour, but it gets the bills paid and the rent paid. And I do have money that I could use to splurge with, but I chose to take money from my budget to pay my book publishing fees because I wanted a book published. So my point in saying and all that is just that, be aware of your choices. Like, don't get so down when you see on social media, people living their best life, looking all beautiful and stuff. Me, like, I live in a nice home. You know, I love my house to look, a certain way. And this is what I spend my money on. And for me, that's okay for me. So in my book, God's Gift to You, that is actually what I mean about, God's gift to you. Again, it's not about religion. It's not about me trying to push religion on anyone. It's about the gifts that we get. Like, for me, for one, being a young girl in that environment, and experiencing all the violence and all the bad things, like the gift to me is that I'm still here, I'm still alive, I'm somewhat stable minded enough to know what's going on around me. um you know um when I see things on social media of people like traveling abroad and buying all these fancy items for clothing or accessories, and I start to feel sad that I can't afford those things right now. um, I'm aware of the choices. Like, do I want to spend money on an expensive concert and go out with my girlfriends and have a night of pleasure? Or do I want to pay my car insurance or put gas in my vehicle? Or how about save some money in case, like, my car breaks down, because that happens too. And, the gift from God for me is like when the vehicle does break down, that I have the money that I need to repair it and get it running again, because I rely on my vehicle to get to work every day, to run my errands, do my shopping, participate in my responsibilities with my family. So yeah, I need my vehicle. And sometimes it breaks down, but thank God I managed to come up with the money to, repair it and have it working the way I need it to be working. So, when I talk about God's gift to you, it's just letting people know, like, no matter what you're going through, like, there's good and bad in everything. Try not to focus so much on the bad and try to look for the good in everything, because there is good in everything. Um, and to, like, just do a video like before I got dressed and started my day. Like, this is what it looks like in the morning when I wake up, before I did brush my teeth, of course, but before I got dressed. Like, I want people to see, like, the real me. I hardly ever see a video of people like in their true selves. Of course, later on I will get dressed and do the hair and the makeup and the jewelry and the clothes and make it look real pretty. But this is a part of my day too, before the hair and the clothes and the makeup. And, I think people need to see more of that, on social media. Like, even when selling your brand, like, let people know, like, you're human. Like, it's not always, glitzy and diamonds and shining and pretty stuff. Like, this is the other side, and this is a part of life too. and it's okay. So my plan today is, I'm gonna go visit my mom because I do have a close relationship with both mom and dad and my siblings. God bless me with a daughter. God bless me with a grandchild. Who love me. Even though some days my daughter and I could like hit a wall because of my mental health issues, but my daughter accepts me for who I am and loves me unconditionally. That lady spoils me, and I love her as well. Um, just follow me on my journey. I always sit in the back seat and I'm real like observant because I don't like attention too much. I get nervous, my social anxiety kicks in, and I'm like, oh God. So I am going to be working my way from the back seat to the front seat. I am allowing God to use me. Um, you know, my daughter suggested to me in my 30s that I write a book about my life. And I was like, no, we're not doing that because, I never wanted the world to know, how traumatic my childhood was. There were things that I thought I would take to my grave. Like, I'm not telling people that. But this is where God has me. I'm in my 50s and it took me a long time to get here. And, my daughter had suggested, a second time, like, Mom, I really think you should write that book. And I'm like, no, no, we're not going to do that. Well, anyway, as you know, the pandemic hit. I'm single. I live alone. I had a lot of time alone up in my head with the recent thoughts and, all kind of stuff. And I'm praying and I'm meditating. And, you know, God told me it's time, to tell your story. And, that's what I did. I wrote this book. It's 200 pages. I wrote it in 3 weeks. Once God gives you an idea or a plan for you, and if it is truly from God, like, He's not going to give you, the thought in your head without seeing you all the way through it. The book is intense. It's funny, it's sad. 1 minute you'll be mad, 1 minute you'll be laughing. There's a lot of information in it regarding, young adults being undereducated, having mental health issues, selling drugs, using and abusing drugs. The side effects of that is if these young adults have children, the children suffer due to their parents, whatever they have going on in their life. And it's not to degrade my parents or to put them down or embarrass them in any type of way, because I love, 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 and respect my parents. But it's just to enlighten the world and, help the world to understand, like, there's millions of people walking around, and they have stuff going on that they don't talk about and they don't reveal. So it's just to help people understand, like, you're not alone. Whatever it is you're going through, you can get through it. um you know Even with a mental health issue and the traumatic experience that I've had in my past, like, I got a book published. Just because someone has a mental health issue doesn't mean they're stupid. Let's just get rid of that myth. People think because you suffer a mental health ailment that you're not intelligent, or, you don't know what's going on around you. Like, I think I'm a very intelligent person. Like, through all that traumatic stuff in my childhood, I still managed to finish school, do a 2-year college, um, pursue a career. I went to school for medical assistant. I went to school for billing and coding. I worked for some of the major hospitals in Boston, Massachusetts. I worked for Children's Hospital when I was like 19 years old. I worked for Brigham and Women's Hospital, who was also my primary care at the time, because I grew up in Boston. I worked at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. So, yeah, I studied under doctors and I studied in clinical environments and I actually went to school and got certificates and degrees you know, um, and I did all that with a mental health issue. So, like I said, if you think you may have a mental health issue, if you think you may have some stuff going on, like you don't have to sit there and suffer in silence. Reach out, get help. You know, I do therapy. I take mental health meds, Celexa, 20 milligram, nothing too heavy because I don't want to be like zonked out of my mind. Like I still need to be able to function. So anyway, just, I mean, I'm all over the place and that's a part of my mental health because part of depression, like it's hard to focus and your mind is like racing. So you could be like all over the place. And, when I catch myself doing that, I'm like, okay, Johnny, pull it back a little. Okay. So, like I said, later on, I am going to go visit my mom and hopefully get a picture of her holding my book. Eventually, I will get to my dad, who lives in another state, not really that far from me, but it's more difficult for me to get to my dad than it is my mom because we live in the same state. So, I'm going to visit mom and hopefully get a picture of her holding my book. My parents have always been proud of the things I have accomplished in my life, even though we had it rough. So anyway, with that all being said, this video is like going into 31 minutes long. I'm not going to keep you any longer. I do have a Facebook web page, Johnny B. Hopkins author on Facebook. I recently created a YouTube channel for myself. I attached my links of where to purchase my book from, God's Gift to You, Book One, Johnny Belinda Hopkins. Thank you, Dorrance Publishing Company, for helping me take my vision and making it into something tangible. Right now, the book can be purchased at www.dorrancebookstore.com. In the coming weeks, the book will also be available at local bookstores, including Barnes and Noble, online through Walmart.com and Amazon. Those things are in the making. They haven't happened yet, but I will update you when those things do come into I don't know, play, whatever, when those things do happen. I'm trying to sound all professional, whatever. Yeah, so like I said, in the near future, please look for my book, God's Gift to You. Support me, guys. This book isn't just about me. There are millions and millions of Americans who are going through, this is reality. It's life on life terms. Everything isn't always, roses and sunshine. So please support my book. And follow me through my journey because this is just the beginning for me. This is what God is telling me to do. This is totally not me. It's all God because I would never on my own. I have to listen to my Lord and Savior. And if this is how he's choosing to use me, I need to listen and, go to work for my higher power. Anyway, thanks guys. Have a good day. Bye.